Paramus and Thisbe is a tragic tale from ancient Rome, where two forbidden lovers took their own lives. It's the first recorded case of suicide in human history and the precursor to Romeo and Juliet. But on this cold, dark winter's eve, there's no tale of romance and no whisper of passionate love. There's only tragedy and death from here on out. Join me as we venture back into the world of pedophilia and to those whom hunt them down like the savage beasts they are. After Bill Conrad blew his brains out, echoes of silence filled the streets. Crickets buzzed, and the flame was extinguished. Pedophiles roamed the city nights carefree, with laptops full of child pornography and pedocombs they used to groom little girls with. Efforts were made to ignite the flame, but they were short-lived. A 10-episode documentary series aired on German television in 2010, but it vanished into obscurity. The following year, a group of Canadian teenage boys dressed up as superheroes for their YouTube series to troll a predator.
This guy is a pedophile. He's here for a 15-year-old girl.
But it too fell into oblivion. Until one day, bang, a slew of online predator hunters were born. Our story begins in England. The year was 2013. It was the year of the Boston Marathon bombing. It was also the year of Stinson Hunter's first hunt. Stinson Hunter was England's first modern-day predator catcher and troublemaker turned OG in the game of vigilantism. He was an arson that spent a decade in prison, battled with drug addictions and memories of an abusive home. But then he took up arms and fought a new war. A war against pedophilia. The format of his catches is familiar. He catfished unsuspecting predators online. When these creeps popped out of their shells to meet up with children, they met up with Stinson instead. But there was no stinghouse, no crewmen by the dozen, and no police. Just a camera, with Stinson and his few friends on one end, and a perverted creep on the other. In the following year, he released a documentary titled Pedophile Hunter. If the creeps weren't featured in his documentary, then you can best bet they were featured online. And it's thus he reignited the flame that died out so many years ago, paving the way for all those whom followed. But by reigniting the flame, he unwittingly melted the emblem sealing Pandora's box, and tragedy soon followed. But here on Untold Truths, we move in steps, one foot in front of the other, into the dark. Enter Letzgo Hunting, a group of hunters that appeared directly after Stinson Hunter in 2013. They were all anonymous, but Stinson Hunter knew their real identities. The founder went by Scumbuster, and the rest of the crew with similar pseudonyms such as Facebuster and Psychobuster. They followed the familiar script as Stinson Hunter. They pretended to be an online underage girl, catfished men to meet up in person, and then posted their encounter online for the world to see. And they loved it. They were catching predators up, down, left, and right. There was nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. But then something tragic swept through Letzgo hunting, and once Stinson Hunter caught wind of it, he was taken aback. In a whirlwind of rage, he leaked Jamie's first name and then threatened to leak Jamie's full identity. Scumbuster, or Jamie as we then knew, thought of his family. He couldn't risk their safety. He left the group, and Cyclebuster, whose real name is John, took over the reins. This is according to Jamie, at least. Stinson denies he threatened the group. In any event, Letzgo Hunting continued the hunt for many more years, but by 2021, they faded into oblivion. But what happened? Why did Stinson Hunter, according to Jamie, have such fury, becoming so enraged that he uttered such threats? Well, to understand this, we must understand Gary. Gary was an engineer, 29 years young. He had a girlfriend, Melissa. He lived with her. But that's not all he lived with. He lived with a dirty little secret, a secret that Letzgo Hunting exposed. And once exposed, he wrapped a rope around his neck and met his maker. Stinson Hunter felt disgusted over this. It strengthened a belief he had, a belief that copycat groups like Letzgo Hunting were nothing but a chaotic mess. But its irony at its darkest. A man killed himself because of Stinson the very next month. I introduced to you Michael, a warehouse manager. He thought he was meeting a 12-year-old girl for sex, but he met Stinson instead. So what did he do? He hung himself in his car days later. Stinson's response? Yeah, the guy killed himself after talking to me, but he made his own choices. Overseas in North America, things weren't much brighter. Enter Justin Payne, a bricklayer turned lone wolf that began his hunting career in 2014. Stinson Hunter was the OG in England, and Justin Payne the OG in North America. But he's not the topic of our story. He inspired Dawson Raymond, who in the following year founded the legendary group Creep Catchers. This organization caught on like wildfire, where dozens of groups that had nothing to do with Dawson started branding themselves as creep catchers throughout the country. It was like the anonymous version of predator catchers. But Dawson didn't like that. He felt that any fucking asshole dickhead is coming out there doing it. And for good reason. The curse that plagued England soon plagued Canada. A trans woman killed herself in 2016 after a Creep Catchers member exposed her. And in the United States, a man hung himself after being confronted by a group known as Pop Squad. This is Caitlin, the trans woman who killed herself. She had a brilliant but damaged mind and the emotional maturity of a child. She was mentally ill and was no stranger to suicide. She was hospitalized after a failed attempt and released days before John, the Creep Catchers member, confronted her. John drove to Caitlin's house, whipped out his trusty pedo camera, and on the front doorsteps of her house, filmed her. She began shaking, her teeth clamped together, her face full of fear. "I can't believe you would accuse me of this," she said. "I was sexually molested when I was a child. The conversation continued, but soon ended. They both went their separate ways, and the months quietly rolled on. It was as if this encounter never happened. Caitlin must have thought the worst was over and her secret safe, but the worst was yet to come. John eventually posted the video online in August of that year. It went viral, racking up millions of views. She took her own life less than a month later, on September 7th, 2016. But don't forget, we also mentioned the man from the United States. His name was Alan, a 20-year-old black, gay, religious Jamaican immigrant. On a cold night in October of 2018, Alan hopped inside his car and drove to a house, believing there was a child inside. Upon arrival, he entered the home and found not a boy, but 31-year-old Shane Erdman, Pop Squad's leader, who was a skinny guy covered in tattoos with a mask on his face. Foreshadowing his tragic ending, Alan said, "I don't have anything to live for." He drove back home to his parents' house, and what must have been the longest 30 minutes of his life, placed a rope around his neck and asphyxiated to death. These are just 2 suicides out of many. Some groups avoided tragedies but still met tragic ends, like Dark Justice, whose co-founder died in a freak accident, or Bubak Shakur, a Mexican predator hunter who was shot dead by a 17-year-old boy in 2023. That's the nature of predator hunting, but the days of Stinson Hunter and Letzgo hunting are over, and with it, the darkness that unfolded beneath them. It now unfolds beneath the new generation of hunters, like Alex Rosen, who, in between a lot of controversy due to his earlier work, exposed famous YouTuber EDP445, which stands for Eat That Pussy, or the Quietly Operated Woman Against Predators, a decoy group which is now plagued with internal conflict and drama. There's even Skater Jean, a comedic Chris Hansen impersonator. But that concludes my series on predator catchers. There's a lot more that could be said, and maybe one day will. But there's even more untold truths elsewhere, waiting to be told. Join me next time as we embark on an even darker and twistier journey like never before. And don't forget, you're the frog in the boiling water, and I'm the chef, slowly turning up the heat.